Have you ever felt as though life had closed every door, no matter how earnestly you prayed, as if the very air around you had grown heavy and the halls of your mind echoed with the sound of footsteps that never arrive? I have sat with many souls who knew that feeling, the letter that did not bring relief, the diagnosis that chilled the heart, the silence after a plea that seemed to vanish into the night. Perhaps you have watched opportunities pass like ships in fog, or felt the weight of loneliness in a crowded room. Perhaps you have wondered whether the heavens had forgotten your name. Listen to me now. Your suffering is not a sentence from some stern judge. It is not punishment. It is the result of an inner law misdirected, powerful, impartial, obedient to the tone of your deepest conviction. The body, the circumstance, the very currents of your affairs, all of them answer the signal you are broadcasting, often without knowing it. You have asked and waited, begged and worried, hoped and trembled, but I will show you another way. I will place in your hands a key so simple that the anxious mind will be tempted to overlook it. You are only 7 seconds away from commanding miracles, 7 seconds to stand still within, to gather yourself, to speak with authority, and to watch the storm acknowledge its master. Not the master of ego, but the master within, the indwelling presence that fashioned you, sustains you, and responds perfectly to faith spoken as law. When your word is aligned with that presence, it does not wander, it accomplishes that whereunto it is sent. Tonight we shall recover the forgotten art of decree. We shall cease negotiating with trouble and begin instructing it. You will learn to speak from the end, to let your voice carry the fragrance of completion, and to feel, even as you speak, that the work is already done in the unseen. If this truth stirs something noble in you, if a quiet yes rises in your heart, declare your readiness now. Write in the comments, "I'm ready to command miracles." Let it be your first decree, a small trumpet at the gate, announcing that a new governor has taken his seat within. Take a slow breath. Lift your head. The night is not your master. In 7 seconds spoken from the center of your being, you will remember who you are, and the world will remember how to obey. Long before the first temple was built, long before the printing of a single scripture, the wise knew of a law that governs all creation, the law of command. It is the quiet principle behind every answered prayer, every healing, every seeming miracle. It is the law that shapes the invisible into the visible, the unformed into the formed. It does not belong to any creed or age. It is the eternal language through which the infinite speaks itself into expression. This law does not answer to pleading, nor does it recognize despair. It is deaf to fear, and it is blind to supplication. The universe does not respond to begging, it responds to belief spoken with authority. The subconscious mind, that silent builder of your destiny, is not moved by tears or noise, it is moved by conviction. It listens not to words alone, but to the tone beneath them. When you ask timidly, it records uncertainty. When you speak in faith, it records law. There is a profound difference between asking and commanding. Asking implies separation. It admits, "I do not have." Commanding affirms unity. It declares, "It is already mine." To ask is to hope that something outside of you will deliver. To command is to recognize that the power has been within you from the beginning. Asking looks upward. Commanding looks inward. For years I too asked. I prayed with words dipped in fear, with thoughts divided between faith and doubt, and though I repeated the phrases of truth, I felt as though my petitions vanished into space. Only when I discovered the law of command did I understand my words had been requests, not decrees. I was asking the infinite to act, when the infinite was waiting for me to give the order. You see, the subconscious mind, that vast ocean beneath the surface of your waking thought, does not reason, argue, or question. It obeys. Whatever you impress upon it with feeling, it expresses without hesitation. It is like the soil, it does not care whether you plant wheat or thorns, it will yield both in exact proportion to your faith. When you command with certainty, you do not shout or strain. You speak as one who knows the outcome. The command is quiet yet absolute. Just as the captain of a great ship speaks calmly, and the entire crew moves at once, so the subconscious obeys the calm voice of authority. The 7 seconds of power are those in which you gather every fiber of belief, every pulse of conviction, and direct it inward, not as a wish, but as a law. In those 7 seconds you can reverse the invisible patterns shaping your reality. You can speak a new pattern into the depths of mind, and the outer world must obey. The body will adjust, the circumstance will rearrange, the path will open, not through struggle but through alignment. For the law cannot resist its own command. This is the forgotten truth of creation. Your word is the seed of all that appears. When spoken in faith, it descends into the subconscious and begins to grow after its kind. The ignorant speak carelessly and wonder why chaos answers. The awakened speak with intention and watch the universe bend to their tone. And so tonight I will show you how to use this law not as a superstition but as a scientific fact of consciousness. You will learn to stand in silence for 7 seconds, to speak from your divine center, and to watch the currents of life rearrange themselves in perfect obedience. There was a time in my own life when these truths were not yet living realities but distant ideas printed on the pages of my books. I was teaching faith, yet doubting in silence. Outwardly I spoke about divine power, about the mind's creative force, but inwardly I wrestled with the shadows of my own uncertainty. It was many years ago, during a period of deep trial. My finances were strained, my health was faltering. I had given my entire life to teaching others about the power of the subconscious, and yet, in the quiet hours of the night, I felt abandoned by the very law I taught. I remember walking alone down a quiet street in Los Angeles, the city lights flickering against the damp pavement. I felt as though every prayer I had uttered had dissolved into the air without an echo. That evening I sat at my desk, papers scattered, bills unopened, and I whispered the same words I had said 1,000 times before. God, please help me. But the words felt empty. They carried no life, no conviction, and suddenly something within me spoke, not in thunder, not in words, but in awareness. It said, "You are not meant to beg the infinite, you are meant to direct it." That realization struck me like lightning. I understood in one blinding moment that every time I asked, I was affirming lack. I was reinforcing separation between myself and the power that moves worlds. I saw that my pleas were the very chains holding me captive, so I stopped. I became utterly still. I took a deep breath and allowed my racing thoughts to settle. And then, without fear or hesitation, I spoke aloud, not a prayer, not a plea, but a command. Peace. Be still. The moment those words left my lips, something extraordinary happened. The tension that had bound my chest released. My mind grew quiet, so quiet that I could hear the ticking of the clock across the room. It was as if every particle in the air had paused to listen. In those 7 seconds, a revelation unfolded within me. I realized that I had never been waiting on God. God had been waiting on me, waiting for me to speak with authority, to recognize that I was not separate from the source but an extension of it. It was a night I shall never forget. The burden that had weighed on me for months lifted entirely. There was no angelic chorus, no blinding light, only a deep, unshakable calm, and from that calm everything began to change. Within days, new opportunities appeared. My health improved, my strength returned. The bills that once terrified me were paid with ease. But more important than any outward change was the inward knowing. I had touched the law that governs all manifestation. That night I stopped asking and started commanding. The 7-second law is not a superstition. It is not a ritual of seconds counted on a clock. It is the moment when faith, feeling, and authority unite into one single vibration. It is the instant when the divided self, the part that prays and the part that doubts, becomes one voice, one command, one certainty. When I speak of 7 seconds, I do not mean that there is magic in the number. I mean that there is power in the brief silence between hesitation and faith, the moment when your whole being aligns and knows. In those 7 seconds, the conscious and the subconscious touch hands, the seed of your word falls into fertile soil, and the law of life begins to act upon it. Think of the words spoken by Jesus to the storm. Peace, be still. He did not shout over the waves. He did not plead with the wind. He spoke as one who knew that the elements themselves were extensions of his own consciousness, and immediately the sea obeyed. That was not miracle. It was law. The law of command in perfect expression. Every true command carries 3 elements. First, faith, the inner conviction that what you declare already exists in the unseen. Second, feeling, the emotional tone that seals the belief, the heartbeat that tells the subconscious this is real. And third, authority, the calm certainty that leaves no space for contradiction. Faith without feeling is hollow. Feeling without authority is unstable. But when faith, feeling, and authority move together, creation begins instantly. It is not about time, it is about tone. You may speak 1,000 affirmations without power, or you may speak one decree in a whisper that shakes the universe. It is not the length of the prayer that matters, but the depth of conviction behind it. In those 7 seconds, when you stand still and declare truth with your whole being, you impress the subconscious mind completely, and the subconscious, ever obedient, begins to rearrange every detail of your outer life to reflect that inner decree. It cannot do otherwise. The law is precise. It does not interpret your words. It mirrors your belief. Say, "Peace, be still," and feel peace, and peace will come. Say, "I am healed," and feel healed, and the body must obey. But if you say the words and secretly tremble with doubt, the subconscious receives the doubt, not the phrase. Therefore, when you practice the 7-second command, do not rush and do not repeat from anxiety. Be still, know what you wish to express, feel it is already done. And when that inner yes arises, that quiet knowing that needs no proof, then speak. That is the moment when the divine power within you answers itself. You will feel it when it happens. A warmth, a calm, a sense of finality. There is no more pleading, no more wishing. You have spoken the law into motion. The command has gone forth, and it will not return void. This, my friend, is the 7-second law, the art of speaking from union with the infinite. The mind that commands is not the small personality, it is the divine mind within, expressing through your voice. And when you let that mind speak, the world must fall into harmony with your word. The universe, my friend, does not hear the arrangement of your words. It feels the tone behind them. The infinite mind is not impressed by eloquence, nor is it moved by emotion alone. It responds with mathematical precision to the vibration of your belief. Your tone is the true prayer. I have heard many people say, "But Dr. Murphy, I have repeated the same affirmation for months and nothing happens." And I always ask, tell me, with what tone do you speak it? Because you see, fear spoken politely is still fear, while faith whispered calmly moves mountains. It is not the phrase "I am prosperous" that changes your world. It is the tone of certainty behind it. You may say the right words and yet project the vibration of doubt, and the subconscious will obey the doubt, not the declaration. The law is impartial. It mirrors the energy, not the syntax. When you truly understand this, you will stop trying to convince the universe, and you will begin to command it. The creative power does not require persuasion, it requires recognition. You don't stand in the dark and beg the light to turn on, you simply flip the switch. You know that the power is already there, waiting for your direction. And so it is with the mind. You do not plead for peace, you speak it. You do not ask for abundance, you declare it. You do not hope for healing, you command it, in the same quiet certainty with which you would turn on the light. As I wrote years ago in The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, your subconscious mind takes the commands you give it based upon what you truly believe and accept as true. It has no sense of humor, no moral judgment, no choice of its own. It simply executes the tone of your belief. If you say "I am well," but your inner tone trembles with fear, the subconscious feels the fear and reproduces it. But if you say "I am well" with calm conviction, even softly, even once, the subconscious accepts it as law, and the healing begins immediately. Think of your words as seeds. The sound of the seed falling into the soil matters little. It is the quality of life within the seed that determines what grows. Your tone is that life force. When I began to understand this principle, I changed the way I spoke to myself. I stopped trying to sound positive and began to feel positive before I spoke. I would sit quietly, breathe deeply, and allow peace to fill my heart. Then, from that peace, I would speak. And every time, without exception, the atmosphere around me would change. The tension would lift. Ideas would come. Circumstances would shift. Because when your tone carries authority, the universe echoes authority back to you. As I once said in a lecture in Dublin, the world within creates the world without. Speak with faith, and the outer must reflect it. Remember this truth. The power that governs the stars, that moves the tides and shapes destiny, is listening not to your words but to your feeling of certainty. So before you speak your next command, pause. Feel the divine presence within you. Let that calm assurance rise. The knowing that the law is already at work. Then, in that sacred stillness, speak your word. Not loudly, not desperately, but authoritatively. For the universe does not respond to noise, it responds to knowing. Now let me take you a little deeper, into the sacred meeting point. between spirit and science, where divine law and human understanding shake hands. Many people think that the 7-second command is merely poetic language, but it is far more than that. It describes the very rhythm by which your subconscious accepts an idea. You see, the conscious mind, the part of you that reasons, analyzes, and argues, operates like a gatekeeper. It questions, it doubts, it delays, but beneath it lies a greater intelligence, the subconscious mind, the silent builder of your destiny. And this mind, my friend, responds not to argument, but to feeling. Modern psychology, even in my own time, was beginning to glimpse this truth. Experiments showed that the subconscious reacts instantly to emotionalized thought, not after hours of reasoning but within a few brief seconds of focused feeling. I have often said your subconscious mind accepts what you feel as true, and now we can see why. When you speak with conviction, when you feel the truth of your word, your nervous system shifts. The electrical impulses in your brain change frequency, your breathing slows, your heart steadies. In that brief span, about 7 seconds, the conscious and subconscious align, and the suggestion passes inward unopposed. It is as if the conscious mind opens its gate just long enough for one powerful seed to enter. Once that seed is planted, the subconscious takes it as law. It begins immediately to rearrange your inner chemistry, your habits, your perception, and even the circumstances of your outer world to match that inner decree. I have watched this countless times in healings and success stories, in moments of deep transformation. A woman who had been sick for years and one night, in tears, spoke, "I am whole." She said it once, but with such finality, such feeling, that her subconscious accepted it, and within days her body began to respond. It is not magic, it is law. Your subconscious is the builder of the body, the molder of your destiny. It governs your heartbeat, your digestion, your breathing, all without your conscious thought. So when you speak with absolute conviction, your command reaches directly into those same centers that control life itself. The scientists of our age are beginning to glimpse this truth through what they call the observer effect. The realization that consciousness itself influences matter. The direction of your attention determines the behavior of energy. What you observe with feeling becomes organized reality. I tell you, my friend, faith is not blind. Faith is the highest form of scientific precision. When you hold an image in mind and clothe it with feeling, you impress it upon the deeper mind, and in about 7 seconds of undivided attention, that impression is made. This is why so many fail with affirmations. They repeat them endlessly, yet never enter that moment of still, emotional conviction. Their words bounce off the conscious mind, never reaching the soil of the subconscious. But when you speak once, just once, with total certainty, you need not repeat it. The law has received its command. I often say, the subconscious is like rich soil. Whatever seed you plant, faith or fear, it will grow. The 7 seconds are simply the planting. After that, your task is not to dig up the seed, but to trust the process of growth. So when you speak your command, take a deep breath, feel the truth of your words. Let every cell in your body agree with you. In that sacred instant, the divine intelligence within you receives the order. And from that moment onward, unseen forces begin to move. It may take hours or days before the evidence appears, but make no mistake, the law is already at work. For the subconscious mind does not delay. It acts the instant it is impressed. And that, my friend, is the true science of the 7 seconds, the meeting of divine faith and biological law, where thought becomes form and word becomes world. Let me share with you now a few living testimonies of this great law, stories that I witnessed with my own eyes, proofs that the unseen responds faithfully to the command of belief. Many years ago, a man came to see me in Los Angeles. He was frail, his voice weak, his body trembling. The doctors had told him that his heart was failing and that he had only months to live. I could see the fear etched into every line of his face. He said to me, "Dr. Murphy, I've prayed, I've begged, I've done everything I know." I looked at him gently and said, "My friend, you have asked enough. Now it is time to command." I told him to go home that night, sit quietly, place his hand upon his heart and say once, with feeling and authority, "The healing presence of God is flowing through every cell of my body now." He asked, "How many times should I say it?" And I answered, "Once, but mean it. Feel it. Speak as if life itself were listening, because it is." He did as I instructed. That night, he told me later, he sat in the stillness, took a deep breath, and spoke the words slowly, deliberately. In those few seconds, he said, something happened, the tension in his chest dissolved, warmth spread through his body, and for the first time in years he felt peace. Within weeks his color returned, his strength increased. His doctor called it a remarkable recovery, but he and I knew what had occurred. He had changed his inner command, and the body, obedient servant of the mind, followed. They didn't change the world. I often say, they changed the command. Another woman wrote to me from New York. Her husband had lost his job. They were on the brink of ruin. Every day she repeated her fears. We can't make it, we'll lose the house. And each day her circumstances darkened, for her words were commands in disguise. When she discovered my writings, she decided to try the 7-second decree. She sat by her window one morning, closed her eyes, and whispered, "Divine abundance flows to us now. All channels are open, and all needs are met." She told me that, as she spoke, she felt something shift, not in the world around her but within. The anxiety quieted. The heaviness lifted. Within 2 weeks her husband was offered a new position at double his former salary. Opportunities appeared as though the universe had simply been waiting for permission to bless them. They didn't change the world, I wrote in reply, they changed the command. And then there was a child, a little boy of 7, pale and weak, suffering from a chronic illness that had confounded every physician. His mother came to one of my lectures, desperate for hope. I told her, speak not to the sickness, but through it. Speak as one who knows that God is already within your child. That night she sat beside his bed, held his hand, and whispered softly, "The life of God flows through you now. You are strong, radiant, and free." She didn't beg or plead, she simply spoke with love and conviction. The boy looked up at her, smiled faintly, and said, "I feel warm, mother." In the weeks that followed, his strength returned. His appetite came back, and within months he was running in the garden again, laughing. These are not tales of chance. They are demonstrations of law, the law that obeys the tone of faith. In every case, the pattern was the same, from despair to command to peace to transformation. When the inner command changes, the outer world has no choice but to rearrange itself accordingly. Remember this truth, my friend, for it is the key to every miracle you will ever witness. You do not need to change the world, you only need to change the command. Now let us bring this great truth from the realm of theory into the practice of daily life. For knowledge, without application, is like a lamp hidden beneath a basket. The light must be used to illuminate your path. You may ask, Dr. Murphy, how do I use this 7-second power? And I say to you, the process is simple, but sacred. It is not a mechanical ritual, it is a spiritual communion. You are not performing a trick of the mind, you are aligning with the infinite intelligence that governs all life. First, quiet the mind. Withdraw your attention from the noise of the outer world. Sit in stillness. It may be in your chair by the fire or at your bedside before you sleep. Let the body grow calm. Breathe slowly, gently, as though each breath were the tide of the sea. Now place your hand over your heart, if you wish. Feel the rhythm of life within you, that steady pulse that never ceases, sustained by the same power that moves the stars. In that stillness you will sense a presence, the quiet awareness that I am. When you feel that peace settle upon you, speak your decree once. Not twice, not 10 times, once, but with total sincerity. Let your words rise from the depth of conviction, not from the surface of hope. You may say, "Divine order governs my life now," or "Peace, be still," or "Abundance flows to me freely." Whatever phrase carries your desire, let it be clothed in faith. Speak it slowly with reverence. Allow each word to sink inward like a stone dropped into still water. Feel its ripples move through every fiber of your being. Do not strain or try to make something happen. The decree itself sets the law in motion. Once you have spoken, let go completely. This, my friend, is the secret most forget. Do not repeat it anxiously. Do not wonder whether it worked. Do not dig up the seed you have planted. You have impressed your word upon the subconscious, your silent builder, and it will now go forth to accomplish that which you have spoken. As I have written before, when you pray, believe that you have received and you shall receive. The law of mind works through belief, not through repetition. The repetition of faith is not in words but in attitude, the calm assurance that your word has been heard. Make this a daily practice. In the morning before you rise, while your mind is still soft and receptive from sleep, speak your command. The moments between sleep and wakefulness are the most powerful, for the subconscious stands open like fertile soil awaiting the seed. Say quietly, "Today, divine order governs all my ways. Peace surrounds me, success follows me, and love guides me." And in the evening, as you drift into slumber, speak once more, not to ask, but to affirm. You may whisper, "I sleep in perfect peace. The wisdom of God renews me, restores me, and directs me." Then rest. Know that your subconscious, the tireless servant, works through the night, weaving your decree into form, influencing people, conditions, and events to bring it forth. Do not worry about how or when the manifestation will appear. The how belongs to infinite mind. Your part is simply to speak the word and rest in the knowledge that it is done. In my travels and lectures, I have watched this practice transform thousands of lives, not through effort but through understanding. The universe is not moved by struggle. It is moved by law, and the law responds to the calm authority of faith. So tonight, when all the world grows quiet, try it for yourself. Sit still, breathe slowly, and let your heart become your temple. Speak your decree once, and let the silence carry it to the infinite. And in that moment, you will understand why I say it does not take time to reach God. It takes alignment, and alignment happens in a breath, in a heartbeat, in 7 seconds of absolute faith. Now, before we go further, let us speak of the one thing that blocks the working of this great law, the inner resistance of the mind. For the law of the subconscious is perfect, but man, through doubt and fear, often interrupts its operation. Many people come to me and say, "Dr. Murphy, I have spoken the word, but nothing has happened." And I ask them gently, "Have you also learned to be still? For you see, my friend, it is not enough to command, one must also trust." The moment you begin to question, to analyze, to wonder whether your command will work, you have already sent another opposite command, one of doubt. I often compare this to a farmer planting seed. He tills the soil, he waters it, and then he waits in faith, knowing that the seed will germinate in the darkness below. But what would you say of the farmer who each morning digs up his seed to see if it has sprouted? You would call him foolish. And yet, this is precisely what so many do with their prayers. They plant the word of truth in the fertile soil of the subconscious and then disturb it with anxiety, impatience, and fear. You must remember, growth takes place in silence. The subconscious mind works beneath the surface of awareness. Its operations are quiet, steady, and sure. After you have spoken your decree, the most powerful thing you can do is to be still. The silence that follows your command is not emptiness. It is the womb of creation. It is there, in that sacred stillness, that invisible forces begin their perfect work. Do not rush to fill it with new words, new doubts, or new fears. Let the silence be your proof that the command has been received. You see, the anxious mind says, "What if it doesn't work?" But the faith-filled mind says, "It is done." One digs in the soil, the other rests in the harvest yet unseen. Which of these do you believe produces fruit? I have met many men and women who pray beautifully but cancel their prayer the moment they rise from it. They speak the word with one breath and speak their worry with the next. They affirm health, and then tell their neighbor how ill they feel. They decree prosperity, and then complain of lack. In doing so, they confuse the subconscious, that obedient servant which must take direction from the dominant tone of belief. Therefore, guard your silence after you speak the word. Let your inner atmosphere remain calm. Say within yourself, "My word has gone forth, it will not return void." This statement, drawn from Scripture, is not mere poetry, it is the description of a spiritual law. Once the command is released, it travels through the invisible in ways you cannot see, touching people, circumstances, and even distant events to fulfill itself in perfect order. And so, if fear should arise, as it sometimes will, do not fight it. Simply replace it with the remembrance of your decree. Whisper gently, "Peace, be still." You are not speaking to the outer world but to the storm of thought within. And just as the Master calmed the waves of the sea with those words, so will your own mind grow quiet under your authority. Do not confuse silence with inactivity. The silence after your decree is not waiting, it is trusting. It is that deep assurance that says, "The infinite is working, even now." My friend, the law of life never fails. It may seem slow to the impatient mind, but to the soul that knows, everything unfolds in perfect rhythm. So the next time you give your 7-second command, let your final word be peace, and then rest in the sacred stillness that follows. for it is in that stillness that miracles take root. Peace, my friend, is not merely the absence of noise, it is the presence of divine order. It is the quiet pulse of harmony at the heart of all creation, and it is the very frequency through which miracles are born. When peace enters, disorder cannot remain. The two are incompatible vibrations, as darkness cannot remain when the light is kindled. Many people search for power, for faith, for success, not realizing that what they truly seek is peace, for peace is the highest vibration of faith. It is the still knowing that all is well, even when appearances suggest otherwise. I remember once, in the early days of my ministry, I faced a time of great turmoil. My work seemed uncertain, friends doubted me, even my own faith wavered. I was striving, struggling, trying to make life bend to my will. And one evening, exhausted, I sat by my desk and simply said aloud, "I surrender all this effort. I stop fighting life." In that moment something remarkable occurred. It was as if a great weight lifted from my shoulders and an inner calm, deep, silent, steady, filled the room. I realized that for years I had been trying to move the law instead of letting the law move through me. From that night onward I stopped fighting life, and life began to obey. That is stormproof peace, the peace that does not depend upon the outer world but arises from the center of being. It is the peace that allows a man to stand amidst chaos and still speak the word of authority. You see, the world cannot be commanded from a restless heart. The universe recognizes not emotion but alignment. When you command from agitation, your words scatter like leaves in the wind, but when you speak from peace, they move with the weight of eternity behind them. Your subconscious accepts the vibration of peace as truth, and the world mirrors it back in perfect form. You may have noticed this in small ways already. When you are calm, things flow easily, conversations, decisions, even coincidences. But when you are anxious, everything seems to resist. This is not chance. It is law. Peace opens the channel to divine intelligence. Worry closes it. So if you wish to command miracles, you must first become the peace you seek. Before you speak, still your heart. Before you decree, breathe deeply until the quiet descends. Let your command arise from that inner stillness, and it will move mountains. This is why the great teacher could still the tempest with 3 simple words. Peace. Be still. Those words carried power not because of their sound but because of the state of consciousness from which they were spoken. He was not pleading with the storm. He was extending his inner peace to it. The storm outside was only a reflection of calm already established within. You and I are called to do the same, for every storm that rages around you has its roots in the unseen, in the thoughts, fears, and emotions that fill your inner atmosphere. Bring peace there, and the outer must follow. Do not think of peace as something to earn or chase. Peace is your natural state, the divine rhythm of your soul. You have only to return to it. Speak softly to yourself. I am centered in divine peace. Let the words sink in until you feel the calm spreading through your body. In that calm, ideas come clearly, intuition guides perfectly, and the path unfolds without struggle. And when challenges appear, as they surely will, remember this truth. Peace is not the reward for overcoming the storm, it is the power that calms it. When you learn to dwell in peace, you will find that nothing outside you can truly disturb you again. The winds may blow, the waves may rise, but you will stand steady, anchored in the eternal stillness that governs all life. That, my friend, is the frequency of miracles, and it has been within you all along. There comes a moment, dear friend, when practice becomes nature, when the truth you once repeated begins to live through you. It is the quiet graduation from being a seeker of miracles to being their commander. It is the moment when you realize that you no longer ask the universe for favor, because you are the universe speaking through form. This is what I call the stage of mastery. It is not arrogance nor the pride of the intellect. It is humility before the law, the deep knowing that the same power that spun the stars beats within your heart. You do not beg life to change, you direct it gently, as a musician leads his orchestra. You speak with peace, not pressure. You command without strain, for you know the law is obedient to your faith. When this awareness dawns, the relationship between you and the infinite shifts. You stop looking upward, hoping for mercy, and begin looking inward, recognizing presence. You see, that prayer was never a request, but a remembrance. You are not trying to reach God. You are awakening as God's expression. In this stage, every moment of life becomes sacred practice. You no longer reserve your decrees for crisis or ceremony. you live them. When worry whispers in your mind, you do not argue, you command. When tension rises, you speak softly within yourself. Peace, be still. When a difficulty appears, you don't collapse into fear, you affirm quietly, divine order governs this situation now. Do not imagine this means you will never feel human emotion again. Even the master feels the winds of circumstance brush against him. But he no longer lets them carry him away. His anchor is faith, his voice is calm, and from that calm, creation obeys. I remember a man who once told me, Dr. Murphy, I wish I could live in that peace all the time. I said to him, you can, if you begin each day with the command of truth. When you awaken in the morning, do not rush into the noise of the world. Before your feet touch the floor, take 7 seconds to align your consciousness with divine order. Breathe deeply. Feel gratitude for the day unfolding before you. Then in that gentle stillness, whisper your morning decree. You might say, today divine intelligence governs my thoughts, divine love directs my actions, and divine abundance follows my every step. Speak it once, as though it were the most natural truth in the world, because it is. Then rise and go about your day, knowing that your word has already shaped it. When small challenges appear, do not wait for them to grow. Stop for a moment, just 7 seconds, and speak your word again. It may be as simple as I am guided, or all is well. Do not underestimate these brief decrees. Each one is a pulse of divine energy that resets your entire vibration. The master of life does not control the world. He aligns with it. He understands that outer events are but shadows cast by inner tone. And so he keeps his tone harmonious, his command firm but kind, his heart steady in peace. You may begin today to live this mastery. It requires no ceremony, no temple, no ritual beyond awareness itself. Simply remember who you are, a vessel through which the infinite expresses. The words of your mouth are not small vibrations lost in air. They are creative decrees, the sound of God remembering himself through you. When you reach this realization, something wondrous occurs. You stop commanding for things, and you begin commanding as truth itself. You no longer say, let there be light. You live as the light. You no longer say, I am healed. You embody wholeness. That is the highest form of prayer, not petition but participation in the eternal act of creation. So tomorrow morning, when you open your eyes to the new day, take a breath, smile, and give your 7-second decree of peace, love, and order. Speak it not to make it true, but because it is true. And then walk through your day as one who knows that every word you speak, every thought you hold is shaping the fabric of your world. You are no longer the seeker, my friend. You are the commander, the living expression of divine mind awakened to its own authority. There is one more mystery, perhaps the greatest of all, the hidden secret that few ever learn. It is this: the command is not complete until you release it. The power of your word does not lie in endless repetition, but in the stillness that follows it. When you speak your decree, you send it forth into the invisible like a seed cast into rich soil. But the seed cannot grow if you keep your hand upon it. It needs the darkness, the moisture, the quiet of the earth. And so it is with your word. You must let it go into the silence, trusting that the divine law is already at work. I have met many earnest souls who speak the truth, yet never learn to rest in it. They affirm with passion, but they never enter peace. They give the command and then immediately look around to see if something has changed. My friend, that is not faith, that is fear in disguise. True command ends in rest. When you speak your word, divine order governs my life now, or I am whole, prosperous, and free. Feel it once, know it, and then release it to the infinite. Let the silence carry it. That silence is not absence, it is divine presence without sound. It is the sacred womb where creation unfolds unseen. In that silence, there is no effort, no struggle, no waiting. The moment you let go, the subconscious takes over, infinite intelligence begins its perfect work. Just as you do not strain to make your heart beat or your lungs breathe, you need not strain to make the law fulfill itself. It knows what to do. You have done your part. You have spoken with authority, and now you must trust the law. This trust is not passive. It is active confidence. It says, I have spoken my word, and it is done. That feeling of finality is the very signal that the subconscious recognizes as completion. So, after every command, practice this sacred discipline. Be silent. Sit for a few moments in quiet awareness. Let your mind become as still as a calm lake at dawn. Do not search for signs. or try to sense results. Simply rest in the knowing that your word has been planted, and the law of growth is in motion. I often tell my students, your word is planted, now let it grow. You do not tell the flower how to bloom, nor the sun how to rise. You trust the process because you know it works by divine rhythm. The same rhythm governs your decrees. Silence is not the end of your prayer, it is the completion of it. It is the moment when the human self steps aside and allows the divine to move. That silence is where God speaks back, not in words but in peace. And if doubt ever tries to creep in, do not disturb the soil with worry. Instead, smile gently and whisper, the law is faithful, my word is fulfilled. Then carry on with your day, secure in quiet certainty. This is the final act of mastery, to speak, to trust, and to rest. For creation is not accomplished in the noise of striving, but in the stillness of surrender. In that sacred pause after your decree, you and the infinite are one, speaker and listener, seed and soil, creator and creation, all moving in the same divine rhythm. Now, my beloved friend, let us bring all of this together, not as theory, but as living truth within you. Wherever you are now, I invite you to become very still. Let the noise of the outer world drift away like the tide pulling back from the shore. You need not close your eyes, but if you wish to, let them rest gently. Feel your breathing slow and deepen. In this moment, there is nothing to do, nothing to fix, nothing to chase. Only awareness. The awareness that you are alive, that a quiet presence moves through you, sustaining every heartbeat, every breath, every thought. That presence has never left you. It is here now, ready to act through your word. Now softly, with the full weight of peace in your heart, whisper with me, peace, be still. Let the words linger in the air for a moment. Feel them ripple through your being like the calm after rain. Once more, slower this time. Let the phrase rise from the deepest place within you, as though your soul itself were speaking, peace, be still. And one final time, in complete surrender, not to the storm, but to the divine authority within you. Peace, be still. Do you feel it? That silence now surrounding you is not emptiness. It is power, the very substance from which creation is formed. These 3 words are the embodiment of the 7-second law. In those few seconds of perfect stillness, your mind, body, and spirit become one. The conscious and the subconscious join hands, and the universe bends to the vibration of your peace. Understand this truth deeply. You are not pleading with the storm to cease. You are reminding it who commands the sea. You are the voice of divine order speaking into chaos, and chaos cannot remain in your presence. This decree is the purest command, because it carries no resistance. It is faith in its highest form, not striving for change, but resting in truth. Every time you whisper these words, you re-establish your dominion over thought, emotion, and circumstance. So when fear arises, say gently, peace, be still. When confusion clouds your mind, speak it again. When the outer world trembles, whisper it once more. Each time you do, you summon the authority of divine consciousness itself. Let this be your final practice tonight. Let it echo beyond these words, beyond sound, into the quiet rhythm of your soul. For you, dear friend, are not a beggar at the gates of heaven. You are heaven speaking to the earth. Peace, be still. And so it is. My beloved friend, as we come to the end of this journey together, I want you to remember what you have felt here tonight, not merely as words but as living truth moving through your soul. You have touched the quiet place within, that sacred center from which all power flows. It was never distant, never hidden from you. It was waiting for your recognition, for your words spoken in faith. And now, as you walk forward from this moment, I bless you. I bless the ground you walk upon, for it responds to your command. I bless your mind, that it may remain open to divine wisdom. I bless your heart, that it may rest forever in peace. And I bless your word, may it never again fall idle, but carry life, order, and healing wherever it is spoken. You are no longer the one who pleads. You are the one who commands in love. When you speak, heaven listens. When you decree, the universe obeys. And when you rest in peace, creation aligns around you. If this truth has stirred something deep within you, if your soul remembers who it truly is, then I invite you to make your declaration before the world. Write these words, with conviction and faith. I am the commander. Let it not be a mere comment, but a signal to the universe that you have remembered your divine authority. When you write it, you affirm before heaven and earth that the age of fear has ended, and the age of faith has begun. And if you wish to walk further in this truth, to keep your consciousness fed with the light of divine wisdom, then remain close to this work. Every word we share together is a step deeper into remembrance. Each awakened voice strengthens the others. Each soul that remembers its power helps the whole world remember, for we are not many, we are one consciousness awakening to itself. When one mind is illumined, all of humanity is lifted by that light. And now, before we part, take a slow breath, feel the stillness returning. Let your heart whisper once more those sacred words that calm the sea and command the world within. Peace. Be still. Carry that peace with you into tomorrow, into every thought, every act, every breath. For peace is not the end of your journey. It is the essence of who you are. And so, my dear friend, I say to you now, with all the tenderness of the Spirit that sent us both here, peace be with you. And so it is.